If you've spent enough time on social media, you've likely seen an e-begging post. Usually, it involves a story about why the person is in need of aid, how much they need, and what they will use it for. If it's regarding a child, animal, or other sufficiently cute or pitiful target, a picture might be included. If you've ever been poor or perhaps just unlucky, then you might be able to empathize with some of these posts. Sometimes people fall on hard times, and money is usually the way out. However, because it is hard to prove many of these claims and very easy to write a compelling story, the ease with which one could once fundraise a couple $100 no longer exists. The spread of scams has tempered goodwill for regular posts, and often outside verification or some form of legitimacy, these donation posts, unless asking for very little, are unsuccessful. Except for when it comes to donation posts for the trans community. What I found funny was that within an hour of reblogging various posts for this video's research, I started to receive messages telling me to either fuck off, that threatened me, and oddly enough, one that tried to argue that I was conducting an unethical sociological study, which is very funny to me considering that I have a psychology degree and know how to conduct an ethical study, but this is a YouTube video where I am making personal comments and analysis.
We serve radical feminism.
You don't have to go to a board of ethics to get approval to make commentary on public posts. To really understand what I mean, you'll need to see some examples. Since I am discussing regular people who are not influencers or anyone of note, I will be censoring their actual names and images. I don't want to invite harassment or harm to anyone, but only wish to criticize their writing. Since these are all public posts, all requesting money, I consider them fair game for critique. With that said, from the post I read through, I noticed several trends. 1. Escape. Hello everyone, I really don't like asking for it, but it's undeniable that me and my housemates could use some help. We live in a very conservative area and all of us are visibly queer. We're trying to raise funds to move somewhere safer, but the only way I can earn income safely is through art, as I've been threatened or put in harm's way due to my apparent transness at every place I've worked at. My roommates face similar tribulations. Living in the public eye here is simply unsustainable. There's more info on the going-ons of our situation in the GoFundMe, but if you can't afford to donate, sharing this post, my commission post, or the GoFundMe does so much in the way of getting us out of here. If you'd rather donate directly, my PayPal and Ko-Fi. We are moving to the Pacific Northwest where we can have better gender-affirming healthcare, more equitable healthcare in general, and find a new community. Hopefully one where a newly transitioned black trans femme, myself, will be less likely to experience acts of violence and fatal hate crimes simply for existing. We have to vacate where we live currently on September 28th, so please help us crowdfund. Been a minute since I posted on my Tumblr, but this is a better time than ever. I have a few announcements. First, I've recently started my transition and am now she/they. Second, me and my partner started a GoFundMe in order to help fund our escape from the South. We're currently living in one of the more conservative and anti-BIPOC/anti-trans part of the southern U.S. and need assistance fleeing. Outside of how dangerous it is for us and the violence we're facing, it has also been very isolating here as we have lost contact with our family. A common thread in many posts is a need to escape a bad housing situation or a bad environment. Typically, the specifics of what makes that environment bad are not given and instead focuses on an immediate need to escape to greener pastures. I understand living in an awful environment or even facing unexpected eviction, but often these posts are simply because people want to leave and can't afford it. That's not an emergency. That's you wanting someone to come save you from having to work hard to save up for your own independence. Maybe this means working more shifts than you'd like, eating more ramen, or relying on a food bank, but just wanting to go live somewhere else when you can't afford to is not an emergency. This can apply to a household they don't like or a larger threat such as escaping a conservative state, being framed as the same thing as an actual refugee seeking to leave a war zone. I've noticed this mentality before in commentary about the non-binary man who sought refuge in Germany, and according to his LinkedIn is still there in a refugee camp. This has only become more egregious as there are several actual genocides occurring today, including in Gaza, Sudan, and the Congo, and equating laws which primarily restrict men and boys from competing with women and girls, or children from undergoing permanent procedures that they categorically cannot consent to, both to their age, social pressure, and the lack of informed consent offered to all trans people, is not the same as genocide. The Fund My Escape posts tend to fall into this mindset of fear and victimization, which is perpetuated by false myths of high murder rates and a resistance to understanding what opposition actually believes, which makes feminists and anyone with concerns over the effect of transitioning become hateful and murderous bigots instead of just people with valid concerns. Number 2, asking for a far larger amount of money than is strictly needed. Hello again. It's been a few months since I posted this the first time, and since it's Pride Month, I thought I'd try asking for help again. My family and I still need help getting out of Florida. As you all know, the situation here is only getting worse every day, and we need to get out. All 3 of us living here are disabled, trans, and still working, but we're still only living paycheck to paycheck right now. We're trying our best to save money where we can, and we have. We've bought the plane tickets to leave, so we will be doing that at the end of October. But we still need money for down payment, our first month of rent, and to ship the bare necessities over to our new place. Any and all help is more than appreciated. Even if you can't donate, please share if you have the time. Thank you so much for reading, and I hope you all have a very happy Pride Month. $175 out of $15,000 as of June 4th, 2023. It is with great difficulty that I put my pride aside here. As a transgender man currently living in the UK, it's hell. The waiting list of the NHS for my region is close to 6 years. My back is fucked due to bending my chest, to the point that I ended up stuck in bed for 10 hours in tears due to spasms, unable to get an ambulance cause the health system is not doing okay. I work in a cafe/bookshop. The mental exhaustion of having J.K. Rowling mentioned daily, debating trans rights of validating my existence, my family cutting all ties with me. It's rough, mate, but it's my life.
Now people are upset about their Harry Potter tattoos. So when you were younger, you did something to alter your body. And now that you're older, you regret it and want to change it.
I need help. If not to fund my transition going private, as this would average £1,500 just to start, to at least afford a chiropractor for my back and neck so I can be able to move up to a full-time contract and save money, and for counseling. Chiropractor is £40 initial cost for the examination, then £35 per treatment, which I'm hoping a course of 3 treatments would put me back on track. Counseling is £20 a session via my local volunteering counseling group. Every little help, even just a reblog, would be greatly appreciated. Either the items they are asking for are way more expensive than one could reasonably ask strangers to cover out of the kindness of their hearts, or else they are vastly overrepresenting the actual cost of what they claim to need. One trans man seeks £1,500 to privatize her transition, despite living in the UK where it could be publicly funded. Not only is immediate transition not a life or death situation, but the amount she is asking to be given is huge and, most importantly, non-essential. Crowdfunding for someone with a life-threatening illness, or someone who died and whose family needs help paying for funeral services, or for someone in need of life-preserving medicine. Those are both time-sensitive and worthy causes, as the people asking are often struck with an unforeseen and personally insurmountable bill. Transitioning is a long and ongoing process which becomes more expensive as complications compound. First it's clothes or hormones, then surgeries, then revisions for those surgeries. It's not a one-time ask, and again, it isn't urgent. In cases like this, I get annoyed because there are actual time-sensitive causes, and sure, I can't tell people how to spend their money or how to emotionally react to these pleas, but I find them unconvincing and offensive to those who actually do need help. It shows to me that many people have not experienced enough adversity to be able to accurately classify their experiences. To be honest, it reminds me of college, when a friend of mine who lived with her mom for free, who paid for everything and gave her money whenever she needed, complained about the cruelty of her mom asking her to do one chore: to take out the trash. At the time, I was working 50 hours a week, including overnights, while going to school full-time. I was paying for my own housing, car insurance, and all other bills, and I was able to recognize, because of all that my roommates asking me not to cook after 8 p.m. was an annoyance, not an actual societal ill requiring me to move to a less hostile environment. The ability to have perspective over their own experiences is often lacking, and it seems to me to be a symptom of immaturity. It's okay to ask for help. If you genuinely are in need of help, local charities and programs are a much better bet than internet strangers, though hey, the transition GoFundMes have varying levels of success, so maybe it is a valid strategy for avoiding full-time work. 3. Lots of disabled and poor trans people prioritizing gender-affirming care over actual needs. Hi, my name is... I'm a 20-year-old trans man who in no way can afford HRT. I finally gave up and made a GoFundMe because I realized after 2 to 3 years of attempting to save up, I will realistically never be able to afford private care for HRT, and the NHS waiting list isn't getting me anywhere. I am unable to work as I am disabled and only get £200 a month from the government, which has to go towards regular spending. You know, food and bills and prescriptions so I don't die, not to be pessimistic. I'm desperate at this point. HRT is life-saving with everything happening in the US and much more quietly in the UK. I'm scared and I want to be able to get on testosterone before it becomes completely impossible. Please. As I've mentioned before, despite noting that they are disabled or poor, hormones and gender-affirming care are treated just as, if not more important than, that of food, shelter, savings, or transportation. I've been poor. Hell, I am still poor. My mother grew up in extreme poverty. If you are truly living paycheck to paycheck or are unable to change your economic status, you are not spending frivolously. Sure, you might have a Starbucks here or there or maintain a gym membership. Being poor doesn't deny you the right to enjoy life at least a little. But long-term and expensive bill is not one you're taking on if it's not important. You will not die if you don't transition. You will not unduly suffer physical health detriments because you are not transitioning. You might be unhappy, you might even be miserable. But not only is that just a symptom of adulthood, hint, you will struggle when you are younger and will not be happy all the time. But your depression and anxiety are likely comorbid conditions with your gender dysphoria anyway. Reading from the script from an older video, other factors may play into one's gender dysphoria, and these comorbidities are often left unaddressed. In other words, how are healthcare providers certain that they are treating the root cause of the issue and not merely treating its symptoms? Known as the intervention causation fallacy, it suggests oversight and a lack of research into the problem of comorbidities, given that over half of the participants reported having at least 3 diagnosed comorbid conditions, with the most prevalent diagnosed comorbid conditions being depressive disorders and anxiety disorders, including PTSD. The current form of treatment, known as gender-affirmative treatment, does not question if these comorbidities may play a role. Instead, they support the conclusion that the individuals come to, as they are supposed to be more sure of their gender than any clinician can claim to be. The theory of minority stress states that the frequently co-occurring psychiatric symptoms of gender dysphoric individuals are a result of prejudice and discrimination brought about by gender nonconformity, and that gender transition will ameliorate these symptoms. Under this model, all roads lead to Rome, and all problems an individual may have can be attributed as being a part of their gender dysphoria. Ergo, treating gender dysphoria is seen as a way to successfully treat not only depression and anxiety, but to also resolve neurocognitive deficits frequently present in gender dysphoric individuals. It would seem evident that treatment which addresses comorbidities first should be investigated, but under this current treatment model, personal belief in diagnosis overrides other potential avenues for gender dysphoria. This may play a role in the long-term rates of mental illness and suicidality in this community. Current research illustrates that those who transition tended to have higher mortality, including from suicide, as well as increased suicide attempts in psychiatric and patient care. Instead of solving the mental health crisis, it appears that it may instead be perpetuating one, as the research reveals that the incidence of mental health problems and suicide attempts is especially high in the year after the completion of gender-affirming surgery, and that increased support in this period might be indicated. Therefore, it becomes important to determine if these problems precede or follow the onset of GD and their possible relationship with GD, as well as if other cultural, societal, and psychological factors may be influencing young people's identities and decisions to seek gender-related health care. In other words, holding off on transition might allow you to become mentally healthy and to come to terms with your self-image as well as improve your standard of living. Transitioning promises a lot but fulfills little of those promises. 4. Being unwilling or unable to work. Queer neurodivergent transmasc in housing situation. Hi, my name is... I am a 24-year-old transmasc from the western suburbs of Chicago. Right now I'm in a bit of a situation and I could really use signal boosting. I started testosterone on June 12, 2023. I'm living with my mother and younger brother right now, but ever since I began medically transitioning, my mother has gotten very harsh with me and is now heavily suggesting that I need to move out. She is telling me that I need to move in with my dad, and while I'm presently on better terms with my dad, I'm afraid that living with him could bring back some of the toxicity and abuse I faced living with him as a child. Therefore, I have no choice but to find somewhere else to live, and fast. I average 30 to 35 hours a week working at Target. Working more than that there in the long term is very dangerous because I am mentally ill and neurodivergent and prone to burnout. Affording a place will be a challenge. I will need at least one roommate who is safe for me to live with, preferably one who is also LGBTQ+. I do not feel comfortable leaving the Chicago suburbs due to accessibility to medication and resources in the area, as well as Illinois' legislative policies regarding trans people. I do not think I can afford to live in Chicago itself, and I risk losing my father's support, which has been crucial to getting me this far, if I move to a place he does not think is safe. I do, however, believe it is possible that I can simply transfer to a different Target store if I need to. My therapist has recommended that I check out the Oak Park area as a possible destination. Basically, I need advice, possibly roommates and living situations, and possibly financial aids if it comes down to it. Right now, though, I'm most focusing on the roommates and living situations, so if you or someone you know lives in the area and are in need of a roommate, please reach out to me through DMs or Discord. So many of these posts mention that the reason why they need external help being an inability to work themselves, either because of disability or outside pressure. I understand not being able to or being unsuited for a 9-to-5 job. Retail is certainly hell, and often in rural areas there's not a lot of options. But guess what? Childcare and elder care are almost always an option and are extremely flexible and relatively stress-free. The reason I stuck with nannying and teaching for 5 years was because they pay a premium and don't require much actual work. I'm not lifting heavy things, I'm not sweating, I'm actually having fun because I'm doing something that's not super stressful, at least not in the same way that retail is. Playing with children or supervising them offers a lot of downtime, and typically the parents are so glad to have help that they treat you very nicely. I'm still in touch with most of my past clients because I enjoyed helping them so much. Of course, I don't think every person who complains about being unable to work is actually unable to. It may be a job you hate, it may be unpleasant, but if you are genuinely in need, you will take what you can get. You're not better than other people or above having to work. Even disabled people are often welcome hires for entry-level jobs that, yes, don't pay well, but if you're not working now, you obviously don't have many bills to pay, and money is money. Which leads me to 5. Being unwilling to live with suboptimal circumstances to independently seek a route to leave. Hey, I'm a he/him. I hate to do this, but my abusive narc mother is kicking me out due to me finally being out from transitioning. It was a big blow up over Christmas, but she said she would wait until Valentine's, then doubled back because we got into a fight over my transition, so it's an emergency now. I need to be out by this Monday, and I'll be in my car. I have $636 in outstanding medical bills that needs to be paid ASAP, and I need money to move out now too. Please like, donate, or reblog if you can. I appreciate it. I've lived with shitty roommates. I had one who tried to get me to break the lease by keeping the house at 80 degrees all summer. I've had roommates who disagreed with me on how to define clean and aggressively re-cleaned the kitchen every time I made a sandwich. I've had roommates who viscerally hated me and murdered my houseplants. I learned to deal with it and ignore them because the alternative was homelessness. Sometimes you have to stick it through until you are able to afford better. I've come to learn that this is a staple of young adulthood, though evidently not everyone has. To recap, I understand needing help sometimes. I understand that money is often the best solution to a problem. But sometimes people don't try hard enough to solve problems on their own, refuse to deal with discomforts, independently solve their issues, and prefer to rely on someone else than to work on improving their own lives. There's nothing inherently wrong with asking for money for non-life-threatening reasons. Hell, I can make a GoFundMe to help pay for grad school application fees. But doing so would be different in that I am being straightforward at how and why I need the money, and I'm not pretending that you are not donating is the difference between my life and death. I am not using my identity to convince you into donating. I'm not fulfilling a trend of victimization. I'm not guilting you into supporting me based on what I identify as. I am not fulfilling any trend of being immature, childish, or self-centered. I'm not even asking for more money than I need for the application fees. And in that case, it shows that e-begging isn't just constrained to the specific community, but I find it to be pretty prevalent. And yet the criticism of this is exceedingly rare. But hey, it's your money. What do you think? This, dear viewers, is where we part. To be clear, I'm not making a GoFundMe to pay for my post-grad application fees. I am paying for those on my own. That was just an example. But when it comes to someone asking for help, if you need help paying for your phone bill, maybe it's not super essential, but if you're saying it's $50, okay, that's something that you can be nice and pay for. If you're needing help because, hey, my car broke down, I'm paying for the specific repair, I need some help covering it. Fine, that's fine. I'm totally fine with it. But it's the combination of all of these factors, and usually it's not just one item on this list, it's more than one in each thing. And what really gets me is the asking for non-essentials. It's like crowdfunding to buy an Xbox. You don't need the Xbox. You're not going to die without the Xbox. And I find it, quite frankly, insulting because you don't have to post that it's life-threatening or dying right now. You need cancer treatment to be worthy of receiving money from strangers. Sometimes it's not that deep. But to present it as it is life or death, that I have to get to buy boy clothes, that I have to take hormones, it's just dishonest to me, because not only is it really a form of self-harm, considering how little we know about the longevity of these treatments, the long-term effects, etc., but it's just, you're not going to die without it. You're not hurt, you're unhappy, but a lot of people are. Anyhow, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.